This is Cheryl Broyles. She was, yeah. I first, Oregon's not a big state, and when I saw another person who had a GBM, my father died of GBM, which is why I'm here. I saw, oh my God, there's another GBM patient in Oregon. And Cheryl happened to live an hour from us here. And so we got together for lunch or breakfast. Was that like 2007 or something like that?
I remember.
A long time ago. But she was already a big success story back then. So I wanted her to come up. A lot of you are familiar with her online. She's very gracious about her time and answers a lot of people's questions. And of course, a lot of people are really curious how she survived this disease that was supposed to kill her like 8 years ago. And Ben Williams is sort of in the same boat as well too, coming up next. So, Cheryl Broyles.
I get nervous behind there and behind that. Do I talk loud enough?
Yeah. Just
Pretty crazy. Well, listen, I'm a wildlife biologist and I was learning how to hoot for spotted owls a long time ago. And when I hooted, my voice had to carry over a mile so people could hear me a mile away. So I can be loud. Can you hear me back there? Are you sure? Okay, because I get nervous behind that.
Okay.
I'd rather not. Okay. Well, I am so honored to be able to be here to talk to other people going through brain tumors. And when I was first diagnosed, it meant so much to me to talk to other people who've been there, done that, and encouraged me. So it means so much to me to be able to reach out and encourage other people going through being diagnosed with a glioblastoma or an astrocytoma, oligodendroglioma, and what's the other one? Yeah, I mean, there's so many different kinds. So I was trying to think about what I would want to share with other people because it really encouraged me to talk to other people who've been there. And what I wanted to do was kind of give you a view of, I'm a planner, I'm a control freak, and so I had to come up with, here's my plan for how I'm going to fight the glioblastoma. So I thought I'd share with you kind of what my plan was, what I do, to maybe give you guys thoughts and ideas, because I think everybody should have a plan, and not just sit back and listen to what the doctor might tell you to do. That's important, but I think that there needs to be, you can build a plan and look at all different approaches. So for me, it all started about 9 years, 3 months ago. I started having a headache. I went to the emergency room and they sent me home. Oh, it's just a headache. Don't worry about it. I knew it was different. If I shook my head, I felt something move. So finally, it ended up coming that they found out that there was what's called an AVM, an arterial venal malformation. It was just a cluster of arteries and veins in my brain. So I went in for surgery up at Oregon Health Science University. And they went in to remove the AVM. And hidden within the AVM, what they found was a glioblastoma about the size of an acorn. They always tell you it's an acorn, it's a pea, they give you like a fruit or something to compare it to, don't they? So it was an acorn size, and they were able to remove it along with the AVM that was leaking. And so at that point, you get overwhelmed when you're diagnosed with something like that. Brain tumor, I mean, whoever thinks about what a brain tumor is really before it comes right in your face that way, or in your brain, I guess. So, like I said, I'm a planner. So I needed to decide to plan. What was I going to do? I love reading books. So I went to Barnes & Nobles, Borders, over the internet. I found every book I could find on fighting cancer. Of course, I found, where he is now, Ben Williams' book. Yeah, I got his book right away. And I actually got Donald Gantz's book, who spoke the other day, and I read his book and was motivated. I've read so many books, and that helped me kind of lay it all out and figure out what I was going to do. And what I decided I was going to take, at least in my mind, I break it into 3 ways. I try to battle this glioblastoma in 3 ways. So one I'll start with is what I think of Western medicine. And to me, that's what you heard mostly about here. Surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, other clinical trials that are out there. So again, like I went through brain surgery when I was first diagnosed with the glioblastoma. At that time, though, Timidar was not even FDA approved. And the only thing I think people were really taking then was like the BCNU or the PCV, and they told me that would add 3 months to my life. And those 3 months did not sound like it'd be fun at all on that. So I decided not to take the chemotherapy at the time. But I really wanted to try to hit it hard other ways. So I I did the radiation, the conformal radiation, and started on other approaches that I'll talk about later. We're still in the Western medicine. But I went, though, for 4 years, and the glioblastoma stayed away for 4 years. And then in 2004, it came back. So I went back into brain surgery, and they were able to remove it. Again, it's in my left temporal lobe, right in here. So the second time I had surgery, they did the surgery while I was awake, and that was at UCSF, Dr. Berger in San Francisco. He was able to remove all seeing tumor at the time. I went on Timidar, which to me, compared to BCNU and some of the other treatments that are out there, is pretty nice. Take a pill at night, go to sleep. I like that. And Catril, if I'm saying that right, is a really good anti-nausea medicine. So I was doing pretty good, and I stayed on the Timidar for 1.5 years. I decided to, well, I'll get that, so I won't get into the other treatments I did for it, but I stayed on it for 1.5 years. My white blood count started going down a little bit, not too bad, but I decided to take a break. So I went off the Timidar, went for another year, and the glioblastoma came back again in 2007. Now this time, I know that not all brain tumors are operable, and my heart goes out to people that have an inoperable tumor. That is a challenge. For me, my tumor again was located, each time it came back, it was, if this is the tumor cavity, it came back right in the tumor cavity. Again, right on the surface of my left temporal lobe. So my doctor said, yes, it's operable. I said, let's get it out. And in 2007, it was about the size of a pea. They caught it early. And so I said, no, I don't want you to just cut the tumor out. I want you to buffer and take a big chunk of my brain around it, try to get any hidden cancer cells. So he said, are you sure? I said, oh, yeah. And it's in where, your language is. I can still talk, but there was a chance I might not be able to because it was in my left temporal lobe. So what we decided to do, I'm left-handed, so there was a slight chance that I could be right brain dominated. And so Dr. Berger's plan was, if he could, he was going to take out my whole entire left temporal lobe, get rid of it. But so we did what was called a WADA test, where they put half my brain asleep. They put the left side of my brain asleep and talked to me to try to see if I could talk well with just using the right side of my brain, hoping that if I was right brain dominated, they could take out a big chunk of my left side, but I wasn't. I'm left brain dominated, just like all you right-handed people, or most right-handed people, so he knew he had to be really careful. So I went into surgery again, my third surgery while I was awake again, but I said, hit it hard. I'm aggressive with surgery, I guess. I mean, as you've heard from a lot of doctors, if you can do surgery and debulk it, get it out, and so I'm all for that. So I said, take what you can. So he agreed, and the tumor again in 2007, my third surgery was only about the size of a pea, but he was able to keep cutting and cutting and cutting until he hit the critical area, because when you're awake, they'll test and see where it shocks you and when you can't talk. He was able to remove a chunk out of my brain the size of a golf ball. So they buffered it big, and my hope was, get that hidden, I can't remember which doctor compared the stem cell as a queen bee. I wanted to get that queen bee and all the workers. I wanted to get any hidden cancer cells. So I came out of surgery, recovered really well, and decided to go back on to Timidar. So I went on to Timidar for 2 years, and then the glioblastoma came back again. So it's come back 3 times, and so I want you out there, if it ever comes back on you, don't give up hope. It's come back 3 times for me, and I'm still loving life and feeling good. It doesn't mean it's over. So I went back into surgery again, surgery number 4, but this time what is amazing was, here's my tumor cavity. The tumor did not come back in my brain at all. It came back in the meninge, which is like the blanket that covers over your brain, and they caught it when it was only 4 millimeters in size. It was teeny weeny. In San Francisco, they keep good track of me. I get an MRI every 2 months, and they caught it fast. So again, they said, well, you know, you could go in for surgery, get me in right away, you know. And so they went in and they removed that little chunk of meninge and covered it up with some cow. So I'm part cow now. And so again, they removed it, and now it's been 6 months. My surgery was in March, so I can do the comb over. The hair is growing back, but so it's been 6 months since the surgery, and I just had my last MRI last Friday, you know, about a week ago, and it looked good. It's clear. I guess that's the Western medicine. You know, I've been through the radiation, been through surgery 4 times, I was on chemotherapy, or on Timidar for over 3.5 years. So I definitely believe in listen to the doctors, go to good doctors. That's why I live in Klamath Falls, which is about an hour and a half from here, but I drive 7 hours south to UCSF every 2 months to see the doctor, get my MRI. I mean, our local doctors here are nice, but I want somebody who specializes, so I really encourage people to go to a place that specializes in brain tumors. So there's the Western medicine. I hit it hard with that. Then, and people talked about this a little bit. This is what I'm a wildlife biologist, so I call it the natural approach. And it comes from different angles in here too. And one is, I decided to go ahead and eat organic. So I went to lunch today for lunch. That wasn't organic, and if I eat out, it's not. But you know, whenever I go grocery shopping and buy my own food, I decided to eat organic. I grew up. My dad and my stepdad are both farmers down in the Sacramento Valley. They grow tomatoes, rice, wheat, prunes, and I grew up around tons of chemicals on the farm. So I decided, let's try to clear it out. And so I started eating organic. Diet, you know, I really started focusing on eating well, and I started eating lots of fruits and vegetables, cutting back on, I try not to eat junk food, you know, I'll drive by McDonald's, you know, it's not like I won't eat there every once in a while, because I have 2 boys that are 10 and almost 13, and they want to go to some fast food place, so we'll go there every once in a while, but I try to eat really healthy. I started focusing on my glucose level, trying to keep my glucose level lower. In fact, for a while I bought one of those things that a diabetic person would hook their finger and test their glucose level. For about a year, I would take it 3 to 6 times a day. I was so paranoid about, okay, if I eat this, what did my blood do? If I ate this, I was trying to keep the glucose level low, so I felt like I wasn't feeding, you know, the tumor. So again, I try very hard to keep my glucose level low. But if it's my kid's birthday, I'll eat a piece of birthday cake. If it's summertime and we're baking, or I'll eat some ice cream. So it's not like I wouldn't give myself an A+. I give myself maybe a B on eating well, but I try to eat really, really healthy. I try to do that to boost my immune system. I exercise. After reading Lance Armstrong's book, that when he was even under chemotherapy, he went out there and rode his bike. So, and there's a lot of research behind how exercise, moving, getting your blood flowing is good for your immune system. So I think of, again, my diet as being a medicine, how I eat. I think about exercising, how I exercise as a medicine. So even if I wake up one morning and I'm feeling miserable, when I was on Timidar, and I didn't feel like even getting out of bed, I would say, okay, I gotta take my medicine, and I would get up and I would make myself, even if it was just walking, but I would try to make myself run or make myself bike ride. In fact, the first 1.5 years I was on Timidar, I decided to sign up for races, because if I was signed up to be in a race at a certain date, then that motivated me to get out and move. And I actually signed up, I was in a thing called a Duthalon, where you run, bike, run. And then I signed up for some mini triathlons where you swim, then you like bike 10 miles, run 5K. I was in cross-country ski race. I mean, I tried to sign up, just not that I wanted to go fast. I just wanted to hit the finish line and say I did it. And so that motivated me to keep moving. So I think that exercise, and the thing is that I think this natural approach I'm taking is equally important in value as the Western medicine. So I take all this very seriously, and I exercise 5 days a week for at least 40 minutes. And again, it might be, if I was on Thibodeau that week and I felt miserable, I would go out and walk. And you know, but if I'm feeling good, I'll go run, ride my bike, I'll do the elliptical, I'll go, I'll do anything to keep moving. And I see that as medicine. And so I eat organic, I try to exercise, and then I do take herbal supplements. And it's so wonderful to see Suzanne Skye. She's right back there. She's the one I started with when I was first diagnosed. I actually got in my library of books, I got Donald Gantz's book, who talked yesterday. I didn't actually work with him, but Suzanne Skye was working with Donald Gantz, so I was determined to start taking some herbal supplements because I wasn't taking chemotherapy when I was first diagnosed. So I met with her and made this big, well, she made the big list, and I just started taking it. But I have over the last 9 years, 3 months, I have been taking herbal supplements routinely, and I'm strict with it because even though there's no proof that that is why I'm still alive, there is a lot of good data behind things. Like, I won't give you my whole list. I have a web page. If you ever want to know what exactly I take, you can get on my web page and look. But like melatonin, boswellia, the mushrooms like maitake and toriolis. Oh, now my brain, I can't even remember it all. But I take a list of things that there's good data that backs up that it is beneficial for your immune system or fighting brain tumors. And again, Ben Williams' book was very helpful for pointing out a lot of things for me, and Donald Gantz's book. And also, I worked with Suzanne Skye for many years. When I moved to Klamath Falls, away from here, I started working with a woman who's a nutritionist. Her name is Jean Wallace, and I've been working with her now. And at least once a year, we get on the phone, talk. She gives me an update. She asks my blood counts, how things look, and so I take a lot of herbal supplements. And I can talk with people, anybody who wants to talk with me. And like I said, the webpage says what I take. And and when I'm done, I can answer some questions. So here, let's think. So this is the more natural approach. I exercise, herbal supplements, eat organic, try to eat healthy, and I tried to simplify my life. I really like Albert Einstein's saying, which is, this is Albert Einstein's definition for insanity was doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting different results. So I felt my lifestyle I had when I was diagnosed, I figured there must have been something I was doing wrong in the way I was living that led to allow me to get cancer. Everybody is exposed to cancer and their body fights it off with their immune system working. My immune system must have been messed up somehow to where I ended up with the glioblastoma, so I decided to change my lifestyle. I didn't want to be insane like his definition of doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results. So I decided to change. So what I did is I quit my job. I'm a wildlife biologist, but I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. My kids were only 1 and 3 years old, and there was no way I was ever going to leave them at a daycare center again. And I tried to, anything I could identify in my life that was stressful, that added anxiety, that was too much, I simplified and tried to make it day-to-day, can relax and enjoy life. And there's a lot of good data out there that shows stress and anxiety is not good for your immune system. Laughing and enjoying life is good for your immune system. So I just tried to change my lifestyle that way. So I don't think I'm missing. So Western medicine, kind of my natural approach, and again, equally, I feel are equally important. And unfortunately, there's a lot, like I said, Western medicine, all that stuff is really important, but I wish that there was more attention over here. The third one, which I think gets the least shoved off to the side usually, is what I call our mindset. When you're diagnosed with cancer or go through any hard time in life, you have a way of, you're going to react to it, perceive it, how your mindset, how you feel about it. And I see it. And again, getting back to the library, all the books I got a really good book. I can't remember the author's name. but it was called something like Self-Coaching on Anxiety and Depression. And what I really liked about that, because I never thought about it before, was that how you react, how you perceive, how you feel about what you're going through is a choice. Before, if I went into depression or was anxious, I'm a really high anxiety person, and if I went into that, I just thought, oh, that's the kind of person I am. You know, I'm an anxious person, that I can get depressed easy, that's just the way I am. And in that book, it was like an eye-opening for me that it is a choice. How you feel is a choice. So I break it up into two ways. I could go, when I'm thinking about glioblastoma, that it's come back 3 times, that I have little kids, that, you know, my husband's wonderful there for me and I don't want him to be a single dad. If I start thinking about all that kind of stuff, I go off and spiral down into depression, anxiety, stress. And I mean, there's tons of research that shows that is bad on your immune system. So I wanted to do everything I could to get out of that, nip it in the bud, and never get into depression and anxiety, and move over to the other side that has been shown is good for your immune system, and I call that hope. And Dennis, I don't know where he is, but he mentioned hope. And it is, I think, medicine. And I think it is something that doesn't get talked about much. It gets, oh yeah, everybody should be hopeful, you know. But I think of it as my medicine. You know, I really think that I'm here, and my quality of life the last 9.5 years have been amazing. Even though the brain tumors come back 3 times, even though I've been on chemotherapy over 3 years, I am loving life. I've got to see my kids grow. I'm running around trying to keep up with them. They're out right now playing football. They both play football this summer. And, so I guess what I'm saying, okay, so your mindset, I think it's a choice. I think that you can fall into depression, and I think that does hinder your immune system. If I crawled into a bed and never moved and was not motivated, I don't think I'd be alive now. But because I said, no, I'm choosing to go over here, I have hope. I'm going to be alive when my kids graduate from high school. I'm going to be alive when they get married one day and have kids. And I tell myself that. And I like the saying, when I went to a training one time up in Eugene at a place called Wings, the woman who was teaching the class said, tell yourself you are what you think you are. You know, and so I would tell myself, and I do every day, I'm healthy, you know, I am strong, you know, if there are any cancer cells in there, they're gone. You know, I visualize things, I visualize my brain, and I only see it as perfectly clean. You know, I try to, when I tell myself I'm healthy, and that's another reason why I exercise, and I would try to hit the finish line. I even won first and second place on a couple of races I was in. But it was because I told myself, I can do this. I don't care if I'm on Timidar. I don't care if it was, you know, only a little bit since my surgery. I'm going to go do it. And when I tell myself I'm going to do it and I can do it, I have done it. And I really think even if it's somebody who is bedridden, who is paralyzed on part of their body and can't, man, I would say, okay, I'm going to do 100 leg moves today. You know, just set a goal and do something, because it is amazing to hit that goal and go, yeah, I can. So I tell myself, I'm going to be here, you know, in 10, 20, 30 years. I'm healthy, I'm feeling good, I'm athletic. You know, and I think if you tell yourself this stuff, your body believes it and starts doing good things. And so for me, my hope foundation is on Christ. Now, I think that there should be hope, whatever your foundation might be. For me, I think I'd be curled up in a ball and given up if it wasn't for leaning on Christ through prayer and knowing He's here for me. That gives me strength. But whether that is your baseline of hope, I don't care what it would be. I just think that people need to choose to be positive, opportunistic, and move ahead that way. And whether it's going out and whether it's bike riding, I love bike riding, I love river rafting, backpacking. I do all these things that I love to do. So then I have hope that yes, I'm going to go do that. yes, I'm going to be around next summer. I want you this winter. A couple summers ago, I rode my bike around Crater Lake, and I really want to cross-country ski around the lake. And you have to camp, usually it's about 30 miles. So go around, you have to camp, snow camp. And so this winter, that's what I want to do. So I always pick goals that I want to do. So I see that battling the brain tumor, I try to hit it from as many different angles as I can. I group it into 3 groups: the Western medicine, the natural approach. Oh, even in the natural, I even started doing acupuncture. You know, I'll try different things. And the woman here who does it, Leanna, she does acupuncture for me. Her husband has a glioblastoma also. And so I'm trying different things, hit it different, and then the hope. I think, again, that they are equal in value. And I feel sad when some people are first diagnosed, that they only focus on the Western medicine, the surgery, radiation, clinical trials, and chemotherapy. That's extremely important, yeah. But I would really love for people to look at hitting it from different angles in these different ways and realize that hope is not just, oh, I hope everybody has hope. It is like a medicine. And I really think it boosts your immune system. So I just really hope that everybody else looks at all these different angles and comes up with a plan to beat the cancer too. So that's it.
Questions for Cheryl? Specifically, like I said, because we're starting to run into a little bit of time, please don't ask questions about her supplement schedule because she really has a very comprehensive website. What is it again?
It's Cheryl Broyles, and then like the little...
A dash?
And then GBM.com.
Yeah.
And on that I go into all the supplements I take and who I buy them from and everything.
And you can ask anybody online how to contact Cheryl too if you need. My business cards are up on the
and I'll go to dinner tonight if anybody wants to talk.
Okay.
Cheryl, I have one question. I know you through my daughter and the internet, but I love your Western approach and the third approach. But my problem is the last approach. Your last approach, would you say it's religion-based, faith-based?
For me,
or can I have that hope without having a religious foundation?
I feel you can. For me, mine is based, I wouldn't call it religious. For me, it's based on my relationship with God and Christ. But I think there's even research going into hope. And I think that your hope foundation can be on something that in your heart means a lot to you. And so I don't think it has to be based on what mine is. I just think that somebody has to be realizing that they need to have goals for the future, hope that things will happen. And it can be based on whatever in your heart leads you to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the first discussion I ever had with a neuro-oncologist. My first question was, what is the common denominator between all of the long-term survivors? And what he said was, they all have a reason to live. And it wasn't some particular treatment or something. I said, yeah, you gotta be giving me a, no, what are you talking about? And he said, no, I'm serious, they all have a reason to live. So, I can't remember, I've talked about so many things, I don't remember if I actually mentioned this before, but Johns Hopkins has been trying to quantify sort of the value of hope as a therapeutic treatment. And what they've discovered, and they've looked at this across over 500 brain tumor patients at this point, the people who are clinically depressed do 30% worse than those who are not, all other things being equal. So, and places like MIT came out with a study last year. They're starting to actually identify chemical changes in the brain that occur based on your mental state, you know, whether you're depressed or not. And so what we all feel is sort of intuitive, that depressed people have a lower immune system and stuff like that. It's really interesting and sort of reassuring to our intuitiveness that they're starting to quantify this. So it is very, very important. And as a little side note too, there are actually several antidepressants that have anti-tumor activity, namely valproic acid, which Jim Olson and I were talking about briefly. It's an ASTAT inhibitor, and also clomipramine, which in Ben Williams' book, he sort of publicized the idea of clomipramine, or there's a million different names for it. What's the other name for clomipramine? Yeah, I can't remember what it is either. Get his book. Anyway, I didn't do that steal the show. Oh, yeah, anafranil, that's right. I don't know how to pronounce it, but anafranil, something like that, anafranil. R-E-N-I-L. Yeah. Okay.
I just want to, reiterate this question of choice. Choosing. There's a really great video for many years. It's called the Fish video. It's very short. You ever been to Pink Street Market? They put it together, and one of the things they talk about is every morning you choose your attitude.
Yeah.
And you can make another choice. It's not always easy, like you were saying, but
right.
You can choose.
I love that I learned that, because before I'd get into depression and anxiety, think, well, that's just the way I am. And realizing that it's a choice, and I can choose to go another direction, that I really like that.
What was the name of the coaching book?
The
coaching book?
it was, if I remember the title, it was Self-Coaching, Anxiety, Depression. I can't remember the author's name. If you email me, I'll look it up and let you know.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.